Today's November 2nd, 2019, and I'm Artist Barber, and Dale Croft and I are here from the Lowell Area Historical Museum to talk with Sally Hoover Johnson. So she's going to tell us about growing up in Lowell, the Lowell and Alto area.
Okay. Yep, I was born in 1939, and I lived in Keene Township, but I was born in a maternity hospital in Grand Rapids, McKinley Maternity Hospital. A friend that I recently got acquainted with in Tri-River Group, she was from Greenville. Our birthdays are the same day, and we found out we were born in the same maternity hospital.
So you've known each other a long time.
Evidently. She went back and she was able to find a picture of what that hospital looked like back then and what it looks like today, so I've got pictures of that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
For an old history buff, yeah. No, we lived on my Hoover grandparents' tenant farm until I was 4 years old, and then we moved into Lowell, and we lived in an apartment on Pleasant Street. It was a house that had 2 apartments in. Then my dad was working for Runciman Beanery then. And so then we moved into, my folks bought a house on Main Street in Lowell. And my dad went to work for the Lowell Light and Power Company, and then...
Yeah, you're the oldest of...
I'm the oldest of 4 girls.
4 girls.
Yep. My youngest sister's name is Jill, because my dad said, guess I'm not going to have any Jacks, so her name's going to be Jill, so that's how she got named. The rest of us were all named after great-grandparents, but yeah. So my folks moved into that home, and they redid some of it over the years. And then I started kindergarten at Lowell. Actually, I started kindergarten the year that the high school building burnt.
Oh.
And I was going into, well, it's the building they're talking about making into condos now. That's where
Right.
I started kindergarten there. I had, after the school burnt, then they sent the kindergartners, went up to the Methodist church, and we finished kindergarten in the Methodist church.
Well, that was much closer to
Yeah,
home.
it was
Yes.
a block away. And then the next year I started first grade we started at City Hall. And then they finished up all the additions and the repairs and stuff, and went back to school at the regular, finished first grade back there. I had Miss Bushnell for a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She was...
Did you have Mrs. Bushnell?
Yes, I did.
Miss Bushnell.
Miss Bushnell. But you didn't want to be naughty in her class. No. I saw her take a ruler to some boys' hands one time.
Probably
and that
my
was the
Uncle
last time.
Bernie, yeah. He got in trouble with her a lot.
It was Orson Abel and Mark Snyder, I think it was.
I lived across the street from her. I used to take her garbage out.
Did you?
My job on Wednesday mornings to take her, because she lived above Mrs. Perry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lived right across the street
Oh,
from her.
okay.
I drive, so yeah.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
You have Miss.
She was a big lady.
Yes.
Yes, she was.
Yep. She ruled she sat at her desk and ruled. But
Yes. I was always fascinated with her shoes.
yes, she did. She big shoes. Yeah. No, I had her, and then I finished. Let's see. We went kindergarten, first, second, and third grade in that building. And then we went over to the high school building, and then you did 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the high school building.
In the basement.
And the first grade, our 4th grade was actually, we went up the stairs, and it was the first room on the left going upstairs.
Oh, okay.
So on that first floor. But yeah, the rest of them, I think. Well, then the 8th grade, when I got to 8th grade, that was in the new addition that they put on. But so I went all the way through high school, kindergarten through 12 at Lowell. Mm-hmm. And then when I was in the 8th grade at school, my dad was killed. He'd worked for the Lowell Light and Power Company, and he was out working on the power lines one day when the electric was out. And being an old farm boy, it was in farm country, and he tried to get the electric going without shutting the farmers down so they could get their milking done, and he ended up hitting a wire with his elbow and was electrocuted. Left my mom with 4 daughters to raise on her own.
And you were...
What year was that?
53. 1953, yeah. So...
Do you have any memories of any favorite teachers?
Oh, gosh. Bob Perry, of course, always.
Everybody's favorite.
Yes, everybody's favorite was Bob Perry.
Was he known as Bio Bob then?
No, just
must
oh, what was her name? I can't think of it. Oh shoot, I can't.
My
Claus,
favorite.
Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus.
She used to read to us, and I think she was our sixth or seventh
She was
grade.
junior high. Yeah.
Sixth or seventh grade teacher, but she read to us a lot. She was just a really nice lady. I liked her a lot.
Mrs. Crum was my favorite.
Oh yes, Mrs. Crum. Yep. And then Jean, and when I got in high school, Jean Christensen. I had her for shorthand and typing. She was a nice lady. So I know Steve Nesbitt. He was a government teacher and principal too.
Before he became superintendent.
Yeah. So yeah.
Was Gumser?
He was the superintendent when I was, yeah. He came in and he taught algebra when we were in the 8th grade. We had 6 weeks of that. And he was a good teacher. I understood algebra when he taught it to us. So I took it in high school and flunked it.
Because they weren't as good a teacher as he was.
Well, I had Ray Avery, and he'd come in and he'd say, okay, this is how you do the problem. And he'd put it on the board, do the next 100 for tomorrow. That was the instruction we got, you know.
Oh, dear.
I was lost. So that was not good. I had him for bookkeeping too. I switched to doing business classes, and I had him for bookkeeping, and he did the same thing there. But bookkeeping was easier. It was a small class, and we went together and we helped each other. And
Well, you did that the rest of your life too.
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah. Then that's what I ended up doing. Yeah. So yeah, after I graduated high school, I went to work at Lowell Light and Power. They called and asked if I wanted to come in.
Well,
I'd been looking for a job and hadn't had much luck, so that kind of lucked out.
They probably felt like they wanted to help. Yeah.
Evidently, yeah. We were lucky. When my dad was killed, of course, my mom was left with a mortgage on the house. We had a car that my dad had just bought. The people of Lowell took up a collection. They paid off our house. They paid off the car.
Oh my!
And which was, it was. My dad was just. That's a picture of him on the wall over there. But my dad was a very personable person. People liked him. He had a good sense of humor.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. So
that's
but
really good to know that everybody
that
thought
was
so
that
much
was
of him.
that was really nice that they did all that.
Boy.
And then of course I had my mother's brothers and my dad's brothers and my dad's sister. They all stepped to the plate, and my uncle that lived on the farm he made sure that we had meat and eggs every week.
Uncle Gerald.
Yep, Uncle Gerald.
Yeah.
Yep, and my Uncle John and my Uncle Harold, my mom's two brothers. They
What was that last name?
Jones.
Jones.
Yep, John Jones.
John Jones
Yeah.
is.
He
Okay.
just turned 100
Yes, he
this
did.
last summer. Yep,
That was your mother's brother.
Yep, that's the only loving uncle I've got left.
Oh,
The rest of them are all gone.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Artis and I were talking about sports back then when we coming out here today. Was there any activities in high school that you participated in?
No, I wasn't very athletic or musical. I took choir to make up my credit for algebra class I had flunked. But no.
No, there weren't opportunities for us.
No,
were
there weren't. We we always went to the basketball games and the football games, but it was a social event as much as anything else. So, yeah, always had dances in the gym. Prom back then, you decorated the gym and you had the dance in the gym instead of.
That was all
going to-
before Runsman School. So,
Yeah.
So it was
Our
all
class was the first class to graduate from Bushnell. Or Runsman, I mean.
Runsman.
From
Yeah.
Runsman, yep. They built it in that year, and ours was the first
And
class
they
to
had
graduate.
they had the graduation ceremony
Yep,
in there.
class of 57.
On the stage and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many were in your graduating class?
Either 93 or 96, and we've lost. We've had a class reunion every 5 years since I graduated from high school, and then after our 50th, we decided that in between the 5 years period that we needed to get together and have coffee. So once a year, those that are available, we meet at Snyder Manor in May on a Friday and have coffee.
You've really stayed close then.
Yeah, we have, but we have lost about 50 51 or 52 class members, which is, yeah, it was one of those. And most of them, I don't know if any of them died during the service or not. Most of them was illnesses, cancer, heart.
Yeah, because they would have been too old for Vietnam.
Yeah,
wouldn't they?
yeah. So, yeah.
Do you have any history about your great grandparents or anything, or were they immigrants that came across? Do you know any?
Yeah, Dick and I've we have. He's the keeper of the Johnson family, and I'm the keeper of the Hoover family. My uncle did all that and brought it down. So most of my Hoover relatives come from Germany, Bavaria, over that way. The Joneses came from England.
Early 1900s or when?
Oh, see, my great-grandfather came over probably in the 1800s on the Hoover side. And can't remember for the Joneses when, been trying to track my grandmother's father back. I know his name and I know when he was born, but I think he was born maybe in Canada, and then immigrated from there. But most of them, I think, came in the 1800s. So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that Hoover farmhouse was probably built in the like 1880s.
Yeah,
because it's that.
My great-grandfather Hoover lived in over here. Dick, what was it, Berry County? Would it be, or Ionia? Ionia County. And my uncle could never find whatever happened to them before they moved out on Center Line. And finally found out, I was going through the record books at the township one day, and there was a record, a cemetery record, and it had their four children there, Hoover children. They'd all died of a disease.
Oh my!
I don't know whether they had whatever was going on at the time. It could have been diphtheria, it could have been cholera, it could have been anything. Yeah. And there was no marker on there, so my uncle had a marker put on that. But after those children died, they sold that place over there and moved out on Center Line. And that had to have been in the 1800s when they were moved out there.
That was a very common
Yeah.
style house
Yeah.
for the
We'd go through that old house, and the basement walls were like 3 foot thick, right, Dick?
stone, weren't they?
Yeah, stone. And when they were redoing the house, they on the outside, in some of the bricks there, they found markings where my uncles had written in lead pencil on brick, and it's still there. You can still see it.
Oh my.
We took pictures of it and showed us, so that's kind of neat. But
You got those here?
yeah.
That's another thing Dale wants you to. If you can find some photographs, he'd be able to include those. Yeah.
Okay, I got lots of photographs.
Oh, good.
Yeah, can do that.
Do you have any memories as a child or growing up in Lowell of showboat activities, or did you participate in the choir? Or that stuff?
Yeah,
Of course.
I sang in the choir for 3 years, I think it was, which was fun. But when we were kids, before that, when we were still young kids, if you would go down to the showboat dock on the night of the showboat, you could ride the boat up the river. And so we always did that when we were kids. We always thought
They had to take it up the river before they could bring it down the river.
So you got to ride up the river on it. So that was always fun. We'd do that, and then we'd walk back down to the Light and Power Company and meet my dad and go back home that way. So, but then after, when we got older, and then after my dad died, Bob and Marie Stewart, they were good friends of my folks's, and they kind of looked after us too, and they would take
and Bob did everything.
Oh yeah,
he could do.
He was a good mentor for Lloyd Wetman too. Lloyd was, just
fatherless for a long time.
Yeah. So Bob and Marie had no children at the time, so they kind of looked after, did things for us, and Bob every once in a while during Showboat Week, I think he would take a couple of us kids. One year he took Ruth Ann Ford and I. He always did the lighting up above in the crow's nest there. He'd take us up there as his assistants for the evening, so we could see the showboat
from way up there.
Yeah. Which was nice. And then when we were kids too, we'd go shopping on. Always Friday was always shopping day, And we'd always go into the drugstore, into Christensen's drugstore, because Marie worked in, well, I
At
think
the fountain, didn't
yeah,
she?
Marie and one of her other sisters,
Ruby.
and what's the other one's name? They worked behind the counter. You'd go in and they'd always give us a free ice cream cone. And then you go down the street to the meat market, to Thompson's Meat Market, and they'd give you a hot dog. Cold hot dog, that's right, it was all cooked meat. Well, those were big treats, and they were exciting things.
Oh, yeah.
Kids
What's
were,
the name of that meat market again?
Thompson's. You know Bobby Thompson? Sandy Van Wielden?
Right. Okay.
Sandy's dad and grandpa owned that.
He
so,
ended
yeah.
up doing the carnival, didn't he?
Yeah.
But where was that at then?
Right about where what's his name has his meat market now?
Gary? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was right in that same area, I think.
I think it
so.
was Cut Rate or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been. So, yeah. But there was the AMP store, and there was a Kroger store on Main Street back then. The Five and Dime. When we were kids, we did all of our shopping at Five and Dime, you know.
Yep, Frank's Five and Dime.
Frank's Five and Dime, yeah. Carrie's, Weeks's was called Weeks's.
For our clothes.
For the clothes, and then material to sew with, and yarns, and all kinds of stuff. And then G's Hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was Townsend's and Ross furniture stores on the other side of the street. And of course, the King Milling Company. I can remember when that burnt. My dad took us down to see after the fire was out.
So
it was just like a big ice castle. I had pictures of it, and I think I gave all those to the museum.
So it burnt in the wintertime, and the water that they were
just
using
froze.
to put,
Yeah,
for gosh
it
sake.
looked
So
just.
what year would that have
Oh
been?
my gosh!
57, I think.
How much?
57?
No, it was earlier than that, because
Was it?
I was in grade school yet when that
Okay.
burnt. So probably late 40s, maybe. Goes because my dad was still alive yet. So my dad died in 53. So yeah, probably late 40s, not any earlier in the early 50s. There was a couple of fires there, and this was the first one, I think.
Oh, so there were others.
Yeah. And then I can remember too when we were kids, the river overflowing, and the water came right up onto Main Street, and it was up high enough on Main Street. People were taking boats, and they'd start about where Jim's ice cream place is, Ball's Ice Cream. You could start right there, and they'd row their boat across.
1948.
Is that when that was?
Yeah, because that was when I was born, and they couldn't get to Grand Rapids. They had to go clear to.
Yeah, I have a picture of McQueen's house there.
Yeah.
Of Dad rowing a canoe.
Oh, have you? Yeah. Yeah.
Marge.
Yeah.
McQueen,
Yeah.
In the canoe, he drove right up, or canoed right up to.
Yeah, 'cause that was only
That
that was only a block away then. Yeah, yeah, that was.
Did you enjoy the Strand Theater at all? Any
Oh,
movies
well-
you went to, or any of that, or?
When I was little, my dad took me to see Pinocchio, and I cried like a baby. And he said, "No more. We're not taking you to any more shows."
ruined you.
Well, then Black Beauty come along, and I wanted to see that. So my Uncle John said he would take me, but I couldn't cry. I cried again. So as a child, I never went back. I never went to the theater again until I got older.
That brings back the story for me when I was young. I went and saw Old Yeller.
Oh,
When the gun went through
Yeah.
the corn crib and then he shot Old Yeller. That whole theater,
Everybody-
theater just started
Hysterical.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Did
Yeah,
that dome up above always intrigued you as a child when you were in there? I mean, when you went in, you were always.
Yeah.
Just with me, I was always looking up there. Going,
Yeah, that was, and then also the restrooms used to be upstairs when I was a kid.
Oh,
You'd go
really?
upstairs, and then there was a window up there that you could look down into the theater on. So I think maybe if a parent had a child that was acting up,
Oh,
could
they
go
could
up
go up
there and they
there.
could still see the. Yeah.
Speaking of that dome, my mother was a friend of Ollie Evans. You know who the
Evanses that owned it.
and they lived in the apartment up there. And I could never figure out how they went around that big dome in their apartment. Of course, their apartment wasn't where the dome was. It was only in the front of the theater. But I just thought, wow, that's a crazy thing to have in your living room.
I think at one time they used to do things on the stage there.
Oh, I know they
before
did.
That was called BS before Sally.
They certainly did. They had vaudeville and
Yeah. I think you remember going to the theater down there, right, Dick? And
Oh, yeah.
when they'd have, they'd give away gifts and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And drawings, doing dishes. Sometimes
Oh yeah.
like $5 even was a big
It was a big,
winner.
yeah.
We used to go, that was, when we were kids, was Wednesday night surprise night. I don't
Yeah,
know.
No.
25
For a quarter.
cents. Yeah.
25 cents. You could go down there.
But you never
You
knew
didn't
what we
know
were going to
movie
see.
it was.
Yeah.
For 20, but that was, that was our.
Well, they always had the newsreel on, and then they always have a serial part
Yeah.
thing going, and
people smoking
cartoon.
cigarettes back
Oh,
then
yeah.
in the theater.
They didn't when I went, but I can remember I took a trip to New York City when my sister was, I think I was out of high school, and I was after I graduated. My sister and I and another gal, we took the train to New York City, and one of the things we did, we went to Radio City Music Hall, and we were all just shocked because there was ashtrays right there on the seats. You could sit right there in the theater and smoke. It was surprising.
And everybody smoked. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now your sister, was that Mary Ann?
No, Jill.
Jill.
My sister.
Your little
Jill's
sister.
youngest sister, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And your other two sisters are Mary Ann and
Jane.
Jane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we all live in this area, so we live around here. Jill's kids all live close by here. Mary Ann's daughter lives in Ada, but Jane's daughter lives, is she in, I can't remember, is she in Dutton? No, not Dutton, I can't think of.
Caledonia or something.
No, down south, off that way, someplace, can't remember where. And her son lives down by Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, we got a son that lives in Norton Shores and a daughter that lives in Milan, down by Ann Arbor. So
Spread out a
they
bit.
spread out, yeah, they
So
do.
what is your family? How many kids?
We had two kids and we have 4 grandchildren. Yeah, our daughter, she works for the city of Milan, working on their Main Street project, they're reviving their Main Street downtown.
That's your daughter Jill.
Yep, yep. And she's married. Her husband John is, he's in the book business. He's a representative for a publishing company, selling books to bookstores and stuff. And then they have a daughter, Maxine, who is a freshman at Loyola this year.
After your
Named
mother.
after my mom.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. And then their son Alden, which is a family name on Dick's side of the
okay.
family. He's a freshman in high school this year. And then Mark works for Holland was it ASF, is it? And his wife is an artist. She does beautiful work. She is
She
affiliated with-
paints or
yeah, this is a piece of her artwork
okay.
here, and then she works with she's working with some of the schools in the area, like an art appreciation thing. Plus her artwork, she's affiliated with LaFonsi Galleries in Grand Rapids and a couple others around, or several others around the area. She does real well with that. Their oldest daughter, Zella, is a freshman in high school, and their son, Gus, his name is Leo Augustine. He's named after my dad.
oh yes.
So he's they call him Gus or Leo. He has to go by Leo now that he's in school, but it's
Right.
always been Gus. He's a 7th grader this year, so yeah, they're good. All good kids.
all good and all
Yeah.
unusual names
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Mark and Christy looked for Zella's name for a long time. They wanted a name that wasn't a normal name.
Right.
It was something unusual, not something everybody else was in. They come up with Zella.
Tell us about when you used to work in the restaurant.
Oh yeah, I worked when I was a senior high school. I worked for Thelma in the Showboat restaurant, Thelma Bailey, and that was fun.
That was when it was on the corner
Yeah.
of Lafayette and Maine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was once a month or every 2 weeks. The little businessmen would come in and. They'd come in to play cards. We have to, after everything went, the curtains all got shut and they had dinner and then they played cards.
Didn't want to get caught gambling, right?
Didn't want to get caught gambling, no.
I heard the story that the hobos that rode the train would get off in Lowell and they'd go around wanting money. And Harold Englehart would not give them money, but he would send them to the restaurant, to the Showboat restaurant, to Thelma's, and for a meal, and he had a running tab there.
Oh, really?
So he'd pay it once a week or whatever, you know, but he would
It must
pay
have been
for a
before
meal, but
yeah, must have been before. I
probably
worked
early
there.
on. Yeah, I think he was just at the granite company then. Maybe he
That
hadn't
could
even
be. Yeah,
done the
before he
bank.
got into the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always thought, you know, that was a restaurant for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. Lucchese's had it for pizza.
There was another little restaurant that was on Main Street too when I was growing up. That,
besides the cafe.
no,
Wasn't
that was no. I don't know who owned it.
Oh, Moore's.
No, it was
No?
back on the bridge.
Oh, okay.
It was just a little restaurant. I can't remember the
What was
name
on
of
the
it.
corner, the levee?
The levee was the
Was Thelma's, yeah.
Thelma's,
Oh, that
yeah.
was Thelma's,
Yeah,
okay.
and then it was back. Then there was the bridge, and then
burn?
there was the candy. Yeah, I think it burned.
Okay.
There was the lady that had the candy store was there, and then it was the next one.
That's
There
one
was
of
a
the
little
ones that
restaurant
burned,
there.
Yeah.
I just remember we went in there one time. I remember with my grandmother or my mother, and I don't know what the occasion was.
Well, because it burnt in the mid-50s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
My mother was working for Molly in the store when that burned. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Was your public library inside the Graham house back
Yep,
then?
yep.
Just like with us in the little room?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep. When I was in third grade, I had trouble reading, and I had Mrs. Rivette was my reading teacher, and she told my mother, she says, take her to the library and let her get a book to read. Just encourage her, anything she wants. I've been an avid reader ever since. Not anything special, mostly historical
Right,
romance books
right.
now that I'm
Yeah.
older. But yeah, I did
so
a lot
you
of
got
reading.
you
Yeah.
had a
So,
love for reading
Yeah,
since
and then
then.
when our son, he had a little trouble reading when he was in school. He had dyslexia, and the teacher said, "Let him read anything he wants to read." She had helped him with a lot, and then he liked motorbikes and stuff like that. So he'd get magazines. But what the heck? And he's
Well, I'm the same way. A retired teacher, third grade teacher for 25 years. I always told the parents, whatever they want to read, let them read. If it's comic books, if it's
yeah,
Anything.
whatever,
exactly.
Just get them to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Mark's first grade teacher, when she discovered Mark's had dyslexia, when the country schools had burnt or had closed, she had bought a lot of the old school books, the reading books. So she would send books home with him, and she'd tell me, now take a red pencil and underline the first letter of each word. And then you sit with the book, you sit behind him or in front of him with the book, and you take a pencil or a stick or your finger even, and just train his eyes to go from left to right across the page.
So
It helped a lot. He still has a little trouble once in a
Right.
while, but it helped him a lot.
isn't that amazing? That
Yeah. And she was, if she hadn't recognized that, not too many people talked about it back then.
Well, they didn't. You know, it's something new.
Yeah.
You know, in the last 30 years, maybe. That
Yeah.
They realized what you're not dumb. You just have trouble.
Yeah, growing up, we probably didn't have much interaction. It was the Dick and Jane books. Remember?
Right.
C-Spot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When we were in kindergarten, we had the great, big, huge Dick and Jane book, and everybody read out of it together.
Remember the shoe?
Yeah.
It was on the counter to learn how to tie your shoes.
Don't remember that, but
Well, who was the teacher that taught Mark?
What's Mark's first grade teacher? Mrs. Sheehan. Sheehan, yeah. She was a good teacher.
Obviously,
Really good
yeah.
teacher. My kids absolutely loved her, and she kept in contact. And
Was Alto School here then?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
This school, I think 1964, they consolidated all the country schools, and they come over here.
And built that.
Yep. When after Dick and I got married and the kids started school, I went over and I worked as a paraprofessional at the school across the street. That way I was in school when the kids were, and then I was home when they were.
That's a great job.
Yeah, that was fun. And Alto's been a good school. I mean, it still is. Every time they have an event over here, they just had one for Halloween. They built that new parking lot there, and it still doesn't hold all the cars. They're parked up and down the street, and yeah.
It's a good place to have
Yeah.
community things.
They've always had really good participation from the parents over here. For I don't know why,
Well, it's,
but I know one thing. It's for years, when not so much as it is, or not so much now as it was, but it was a farming community. The farm, everybody was working on their farm, so the farmers could take off. They could take time off. Where
because they weren't punching a clock.
right now they're off working in factories or other places, and it's hard for them to get away. But they still get a big participation here. If the parents can't come, the grandparents come, and it was a good school. Yeah.
Inconvenient for you.
Yeah, it was. So, but yeah, I did that, and then after the kids got out of grade school here, and then I got offered the job to fill out a job as the township treasurer when Dave Hoffman got sick and couldn't do it anymore, and I ran for office. I did that job for 19 and a half years. I was the township treasurer over here.
You got reelected
I
then.
got reelected, yeah. So for 19 and a half years, I did that, which was fun. I enjoyed people.
Just around the corner
Yeah.
again, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was uptown, and then we moved out to Bound Center.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But did that, and with Dick and his family history, and me and my family history, we got involved in history a lot. We always, Dick and I both have always liked family history. I had my mother's cousin when I was young. She was really into the family history stuff, and she traveled to England to trace down
So she
stuff.
has all that for you.
She had it, and she had given me a carbon copy of some of it, which I lost. I don't know whatever
dear.
happened to it, but the original she gave to one of her grandkids to use in college as a project, and they never got it back. And
Oh, dear.
Don't know whatever happened to it.
Oh.
So I started over.
You
I
didn't
had,
realize how important
no,
it is.
I have the old family Bible here, so I've been tracing it back. I've got some of my grandparents on my grandpa's side goes back to the 1600s.
That's the Jones.
Yeah, yeah. And then my grandmother Jones, her maiden name was White, and she's the one that I kind of hit a wall because I can't get her father back any farther. My great grandfather better than.
Well, those are both English names.
Yeah. I think someday I'm going to have to. I'm on Ancestry, and someday I'm going to have to break down and buy the international Ancestry for a year and see if I can
Get it all.
Get it all. Yeah. But when Dick and I got married, then and I was working for the township, we started the Bound Township Historical Society, and Dick and I both got involved in that, and that's been going for almost 30 years now. We've had that going.
Longer than Lowell's.
Yeah. And then we, a few years ago, how many years is it? 12, 14, 15? I can't remember. We started the Tri-River Historical Museum Network. And Bound joined that when it first started up, and when Patty Alchin left Lowell, she was the leader or the president of the group. I took over, and I've been the president since then. I can't get rid of the job
By default, yeah.
by default. But it's fun. We've grown from. We started out with about 6 museums together, and we're up to I think there's 43 or
Right.
something like that are
We're
involved in it.
involved in it,
Yeah. So we're losing one this year. One group, the Midwest Michigan Miniature Museum, is moving from where they were down by the car museum there. Gilmore Car Museum.
Yeah.
They're moving to Grand Haven, which is out of our.
Out of your, well, it's
Yeah.
still the river, though.
It's a river, but our little things that are criteria says you have to be on the river or in one of the 5 counties.
Oh, okay.
So, and they're moving out of that. So,
But to have that many.
but yeah, it's grown. It's grown. We go to Eaton County down that way. We go to Edmore up to the northeast. Yeah. So,
Greenville, Belden.
Greenville, Sparta, Rockford. Yeah.
And
Cedar
Ada's got
Springs, Ada. Ada's got a great, yeah.
They're new additions.
Their new addition is, yeah.
Yeah, it is. We went to a meeting there, and it was, it's awesome. We're trying to get an addition put on our building out there. We've got a lot of research material, and right now it's on bookshelves in the back hallway, which is our handicap entrance, which they shouldn't be there.
No.
And we're running out of room for storage, which is back in the furnace room, which a lot of that stuff shouldn't be there too. So,
Are you in the Grange Hall then, or?
no, it used to be the ladies' aid hall for the church, and it's
Oh,
a
okay.
2-story building.
Okay.
And then we also have the one-room school, the old bound one-room school. Plus, behind the museum, we have it's what's left of the carriage shed that used to be around the church at one time, where they would park their horses
really?
and carriages.
Oh.
You
There's
moved
just
it?
just
Yeah.
a section of that was left, and we moved that back there. And then we finally enclosed it, and so we've got a lot of stuff in there too,
Oh,
like
okay.
outdoor things. So
Yeah.
Stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
we had a lot of nice stuff out there.
So are you open?
We're closed for the winter now. We'll be open for open house for Christmas. The church out there does a live nativity, and we open up. And we used to have Santa Claus come, but Santa Claus got sick and he couldn't come anymore. So last year we had little gift cards that the kids could color, or little Christmas cards the
Yeah.
kids could color. And we had a mailbox there, and they could put them in so they could send them to
it
Santa.
Yeah,
Santa.
okay.
Yep. And they
So
like
it's a real
that.
community thing.
Yeah, and then the museum, we always have warm drinks and coffee, cookies, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and then the church, like I say, with their live nativity, we usually get like 75 to 100 people come
Oh,
through on
my.
that night. We're only open for a couple hours. But
Right, but you get them
Yeah.
all in there because they're there for other things.
Yeah, so that's really nice.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's a great community.
it is. It is.
And you went all the way out here from Lowell. Huh?
Yep, I've been out here longer than I was ever in Lowell.
Did you know Dick in school, or?
No, Dick went to Caledonia to school.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I met him through his sister. His sister and she worked to the Lowell Ledger for a while.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of friends with her, and she asked me to her wedding
Yeah.
when she got married, and asked me to cut the cake, and asked me if I would put the flowers on the people that were coming, and I got to pin a flower on him. We've been together ever since.
And how many years later now has it been?
It'll be 54 years in January. Yeah. Yeah. They said it would never work.
They say that a lot.
She picked
Well,
you all right.
I was a
didn't
good
she?
little Catholic girl, and he'd been married and divorced, so
You rebelled.
Yeah, I did, and I saw the priest a few years later. So I wanted to stop him and say, Father Ben, guess what? You said it would never happen, but I says we're still married. It's been almost 20 years at the time.
At the time,
yeah.
So,
No.
well, you got a good catch, so.
Yes, I did. I got a good husband.
Well, growing up in this area, what's one good memory you would have about being lucky enough to grow up around here?
I like the small town atmosphere. Lowell is grown enough. It's not the same, but it used to be you knew everybody in town. And when I worked at the Light and Power Company, I always knew everybody. You knew them by their first name or their last name, or you knew their kids. And
Or you went to the bank, like when
Yeah.
the old state savings, you weren't a number.
right,
They
you were
if you were having a hard time, they would work with you. And
Right.
It's a small town.
right. Well, it's like when our daughter was born. Dick we had to have some money to pay the hospital bill. He just went up to the bank, and they knew who he was, and they
Sign here and hand it
Yeah,
over.
it wasn't like now you have to go sign your life away.
That's one of my favorite stories too. Growing up with Gurney Hahn,
Yeah,
if you needed, just
Take it all and bring back what you don't use.
Needed some electric wire, say, well,
exactly.
take the box, bring back what you. Just tell me how much you use. And bring back the rest.
yeah,
Those days
Yeah.
are gone. Those
Yeah.
days are gone. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I first married, I didn't know Gurney Hahn, but I needed a lawnmower. I didn't have $30 for a lawnmower. She says, go down and talk to Gurney. I walked in, just told him I was married to Sally. She says, pay me when you can, $5 a payday or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, Gurney's humor too was.
Oh yeah,
A lot of people would walk out of the place going,
It was
if they didn't know him.
Yeah, he was just so laid back, and it was kind of a dry sense of humor. Yeah.
Kinda dry, so-
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's the nice thing about small town. You got to know
The characters.
Right. Right.
and
Yep.
you enjoyed.
Well, Mrs. Hahn, his mother,
Thelma.
she lived on Main Street there, and she was the librarian when I was in school, and she had a dollhouse collection, and she kept it in like this bookcase I got back here, the old bookcases. She had a lot of them in there. She invited a bunch of us girls when we were in high school to come to her house for tea, and she showed us her
dolls.
collection, her
Yeah,
dolls,
yeah.
and that was the neatest thing, to do stuff like that. So yeah. People, it was a good community. It was a good area to grow up in. And when I moved to Alto was small too. And you knew everybody, and
They took you in, did they?
yep, they did. They did. It was a good community to come to. So then you get involved with all the people when your kids start school. You get involved in it was Mother's Club then. It was not the Parent Teachers Association they have nowadays. We didn't have to work and earn the money they got to earn nowadays to help these teachers out. It's bad, but yeah. No, a lot of the kids I went to school with lived over in this area too, so yeah.
They get together.
Yeah, I'm still friends with a lot of kids that I went to school with. Virginia Lewis, that I started kindergarten with, her and I are still friends, and she lives on the other side of the state now. We talk on the phone every once in a while. And Judy Ellison, Judy Dahlstra, met her when I started high school. And Judy Baird, Judy Potter, Judy Baird, and Erilyn Weeks, Erilyn Osborne Weeks. I mean, we were all still good friends. And Bobby and I were good friends for a long time. And Orson and Addie, yeah. Orson and Martin. Well, I don't know if he was or not. The Dowling boys, they lived up by Orson's too, and they were all playmates. And when we were kids, you'd go out and you could run around a 2-block area.
And there's all the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and play, and your folks didn't have to worry about.
Well, the Jacoby girls are right around the corner
They
too.
moved up there when we were a little older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jerry was in my grade in
Yeah.
school. Yeah, so yeah, it was. One of my other old neighbors I see just passed away too. Gelusos they run a bakery in Lowell for a long time, and they lived in the big house on the corner just to the east of us. And I see their oldest boy, Vincent. He just passed away.
You mean the Battistello house? Or?
No, where my house used to be on Main Street. And there was Jesse Cahoon lived on the corner, and the next house up was a big old white house,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
a Victorian style.
They're all gone now, though. Yeah.
No, Jesse's house is gone and mine's gone. That house is still there on the
Oh,
corner.
okay.
Yeah, corner of Grove and But, different families lived in that over the years. But
Sally, who was it used to stop and give you guys a ride in the winter?
when we were kids, of course, my dad would go to the Catholic church, and we didn't have a car back then. Sunday mornings he'd get up and walk. Sometimes if the weather was nice, us kids would go with him too. But a lot of times he just walked by himself. And Reverend Glockfeldy was the minister at the Methodist Church at the time, and he would be going out to Virginia's to preach out there. And sometimes he'd pick my dad up and give him a ride and drop him off at the Catholic church, and then he'd go on.
The Methodist minister dropped him off at the Catholic.
See, that's the kind of a community it was, Yeah. And then otherwise on Sunday mornings, if we wanted to ride to church, we'd stand out front, and my Uncle Gerald would come by from the farm, and he'd stop, pick us up, and give us a ride home. So.
He was an old bachelor.
Yeah,
Wasn't he? Never married.
Yeah, two of my
farm.
dad's brothers ended up bachelors. The rest of them all married.
Yep.
9 boys and a girl in that family.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was a good area to grow up in.
It was fun.
Yeah. I feel bad for kids nowadays because I feel like they're under so much pressure. High school especially, I think, to
take the AP classes.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I know I've talked to a lot of the teachers that are so they don't feel like they're able to teach like they want to be because they're spending all their time teaching the kids for testing, and It's discouraging. You probably.
Well, that's why I
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah.
I know a couple of others that said
I
the
couldn't
same
do it
thing.
anymore.
Yeah,
It was just,
it's sad, isn't it? They put
took
that.
all the fun out of teaching.
Yeah, and I think it takes a lot of fun out of learning for the kids too.
Yeah, you're right, because we did a lot of hands-on stuff when
Yeah.
You didn't have time for it
everything was-
anymore.
and everything, all the curriculum was written. You had to follow it.
Yeah.
And
My grandkids tried to teach me how to do the new modern math. Oh, come on, kids. It's so much easier this other way, the old-fashioned
do
way.
it the old way.
Yeah. I could do
It all
it
comes out
faster.
in the end.
I could do it faster than they could.
Yeah.
Oh. No, it was fun. I'm glad I grew up in the era I did.
Yeah.
And then too, you always, one Sunday you'd go to one grandma's for dinner, and the next Sunday you'd go to the other ones.
We'd go visit. Yeah, you have to go.
My grandma Hoover, you'd always go out there, and she'd have, always it was chicken dinner on Sunday. And my
And
grandma.
she'd just gone out to the coop to get it. the
Yeah,
day-
probably, yep. And she cooked on an old wood stove, I
Mhm.
remember that. And then my grandma Jones, it was always roast beef and roast pork and
Potatoes.
potato. Oh yeah,
Oh.
we always, yeah.
You don't have a meal without potatoes.
My grandma Hoover's my uncle, her one boy finally bought her a mix master, they called them back then.
Oh, yeah.
The electric. And so he always mashed the potatoes on Sunday. He'd put them in there and turn that on and mash them up.
Who was the other brother that didn't marry?
Henry. Or no, I'm not Henry, George.
George.
Uncle George,
Okay,
yeah.
George and,
Yeah.
and Gerald.
Henry and George both lived on the other side of the state. And then my Aunt Kate, the one girl, she lived in Jackson. And then Mike, Mike worked, I think for the beanery in Lowell at one time. He gave some stuff to the Lowell Museum. He worked on sorting machines.
I know that there's a Hoover book upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got, he did, yeah.
Someone wrote the whole.
Yeah, that's what
history.
he did,
Yeah.
Mike.
Okay.
And when he passed away, he left all that stuff to me. I got all of it.
You got it.
My daughter
through it, huh?
My daughter will take
Yeah.
over from there. Yeah, but yeah. Then Uncle Jake moved on to the tenant farm where I had lived there on White's Bridge, and
You went to GM every day for 30 years.
Yeah.
5 days a week with
Yeah.
my dad and 2 other guys.
yeah,
And they never spoke.
Highlander.
If the guy that's driving, the rest of them were all sleeping.
yeah. Yes.
But they were, he worked clear down at Plant 1 there in Wyoming, so that was a long drive. No expressways. back
No,
then.
not, I can remember when there was no expressways yet. You take old 16 to go to.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn, I'm old.
Yeah. So you're pretty much, that's all you have to say?
I can't think of
Can you think
anything else right
You
now.
really had, you did say you couldn't remember who was on Showboat when you were in the chorus.
No, I can't. I have to go back
must
and look.
not have
and
been
I
real-
don't remember which years they were.
They
I
weren't
remember
very
the-
memorable then. Huh?
No, I remember there was a lot of people. I saw shows, but I can't remember the years that I
Oh, okay. But,
did it. Who
and
they,
who the star
there.
was. Huh?
But yeah.
Luann and I were talking yesterday. She's writing something on it. What was the song you sang coming up the aisles? Are you from Dixie, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what we thought.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what.
Yeah.
And they played it all the way around Cattail Bend and
Yeah.
parked it right there. And
You always you got. It's one way you got to wear your formals that you wore for prom. You get to use them
yep.
again.
You all had to have a fancy dress.
Had to have a fancy
Speaking
dress.
of Gurney, I'd be working at the VFW they put on a dinner every night, and Gurney had the back gate, so he'd always let me sneak in and
Did
watch
you do
the
the
show.
walk up Riverside Drive to get on the boat?
Oh yeah.
And all that?
Once in a while there'd be some boy out there with his car. He'd offer the girls a ride up. We were walking with our high heels on to get up there, but most of the time we walked it. Yeah. Yeah. If otherwise, if you drove up, then you'd still have to walk back up and get your car.
Right, right. So that wasn't that far.
No.
But Runsman's house was always so nice.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. There's lots of memories. I'll probably remember lots of stuff after you've gone that I can't remember now. But yeah,
So,
it was a good time to grow up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really was.
well, thank you, Sally, for
Well-
telling us all about your childhood and growing up in Lowell, and
You're
glad that you
welcome.
could
Hope
share.
I've brought back memories for
Yes,
a few
you
people
did.
and help people
You
recall.
will, yeah, you will for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing.
The Lowell Area Historical Museum is proud to sponsor community oral history interviews. The Lowell Area Historical Museum educates, enriches, and inspires our community and visitors through the preservation and presentation of Lowell area history. For reservations and more information, contact the Lowell Area Historical Museum at 616-897-7688.